Good morning, everyone. Boker Tov. This week's Torah portion begins with the topic of nidarim, vows, promises, and oaths that a person makes. And this subject of promises and oaths is so significant that the opening prayer of Yom Kippur, the holiest prayer, Kol Nidrei, when every Jew stands in the synagogue with a sense of awe and reverence and holiness, the cantor begins, Kol Nidrei, which means all the vows, all the promises that I've made over the past year. Why is the topic of nidarim, of promises and oaths, so important that we begin the holiest day with a prayer about vows? And the answer is, while the Torah portion speaks about the logistical, technical aspects of vows, there is a broader dimension to vows. You see, every person makes promises to themselves. When a husband and wife, bride and a groom, stand under the chuppah, they vow in their heart to be the best couple, to shower each other with love and affection and attention. When parents give birth to a child, they vow to themselves they'll be the most loving, dedicated parents to their newborn child. We always make promises to ourselves. A matter of fact, the Talmud says that before our soul came into the world, in heaven, we took a vow that we would be righteous and not be wicked, God forbid. But unfortunately, sometimes in life, we give up on our own vows to ourselves. It gets difficult, it becomes challenging. We lose our hope, we lose our vision, we lose our dream and the promise that we fulfilled, that we gave to ourselves. And therefore, the opening commandment of Nidarim is the opening prayer of Kol Nidrei. Just like on Yom Kippur, we think back on the year and we say, have I lived up not just to the promises that I've made to others? Of course I have to keep my word and be honest and fulfill my vows and promises to others. But even more important is, what about the promises I made to myself? Am I living up to my own dreams and promises? When I was young and I was a child, how did I envision my life? And it's never too late to fulfill that promise to yourself, because the greatest person you have to learn to love and be good to is yourself, because only if you love yourself can you then turn that love outward. And in order to fulfill promises and commitments to others, you first have to keep the promises you made to yourself. Everyone remembers the story that happened in 2009, January 15th. A United flight 1549 departed from LaGuardia Airport. And shortly after takeoff, a flock of birds flew into the engine, disabling the engine. And the captain of the plane was Captain Sully Sullenberg. And famously, as all the engines went out, he managed to land the plane on the Hudson River. And this, of course, has become known as the miracle on the Hudson. Books and movies have been made about this miraculous landing. And all 155 passengers aboard the flight were all saved. And a number of weeks later, in an interview, Captain Sully Sullenberger was asked, how did you manage to do that? How did you manage to have the frame of mind, the calm, to be able to maneuver the plane under the moment of tremendous crisis without any engines and land it safely on the Hudson River, something that had never been done before? And this is what Captain Sully said. He said, my father was a dentist in Texas, and tragically he suffered from depression, and he committed suicide and took his own life. And I suffered my whole life because of the tragedy of my father taking his life. And I made a vow to myself that I would always do whatever I can to protect and to save lives, because I never want another person to have to suffer the way I suffered and my family suffered on the loss of my father. And when the engines went out, the first thing I thought about was the pain I experienced at the loss of my father. And I said, there are 155 passengers on this plane. They all have children. I don't want them to have to endure what I endured. And with my father's memory in my mind, I stayed focused and managed to do what I did and save every passenger on board. Nidarim teaches us Be true to thyself and never give up on your dreams and your promises. Have a wonderful day.